On episode 203 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet with Maria Emmerich and discuss her book, The 30-Day Ketogenic Cleanse. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/203. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. I'm really excited to have Maria Emmerich on today. She is the best-selling author of several books and cookbooks to include the Ketogenic Cookbook with co-author Jimmy Moore, the Quick and Easy Ketogenic Cookbook. She lives in Wisconsin with her husband and 2 children. With no further ado, here's Maria. So Maria, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love getting on podcasts and helping educate people about keto.
And I do too. And that was what was so exciting about this is when I told my wife initially, I said, I'm going to start eating ketogenic. And she's like, well, I don't even know how to cook for that. I bought your first book, or maybe not your first book, but I bought your last cookbook that was out there, the Ketogenic Cookbook. And I said, okay, here. And it's literally sitting on our microwave at home. So my wife knows what she can cook for me.
That's so awesome. That warms my heart thinking of all of the people out there cooking this way. So
I was really excited about this book when I got it. And then it had the word cleanse in it. I'm like, oh no, not another cleanse. But I'm going to say this. This is not a fad thing. This is not a just throw something together and do something. This is the 3-pound book. So this is a cookbook wrapped up in a lesson, wrapped up in a lifestyle thing that you kind of get them started with the thinking of 30 days and I'm out. But the reality is, I think after 30 days, they're not going to quit.
That's what I wrote in, my letter to the reader is that a lot of times when you think of cutting things out of your life forever, it's kind of overwhelming. And it wasn't an easy journey for me at all. And it was baby steps all the way. But I get a lot of people that want to heal fast. They have a lot of ailments. I had a lot of ailments and I wasted a lot of time dabbling in different things. And this is my, I don't know if you want to say gift to the reader that rip the Band-Aid off. Here's how you do it. And after the 30 days, you're going to feel so amazing and really like the food that you're not going to want to go back. And that's what my ultimate goal. And I get the word cleanse is, I wasn't sure what word to use because it's not just a food experience. I talk about how to heal your mitochondria, and it's more than just food. It's grounding, it's light therapy, it's cold therapy. It's exercise therapy and how to do that without wasting your time.
And that's what I liked about it when I got into it last night and started wording this book was, it was just okay, let's get into this and let's find what this is about. And as I got into it, I'm like, oh, well, this is much, much more than that. And I appreciate that you shared your grandpa Jerry's story and that you kind of got into your talk where, the nutritionist, the dietitian, she gets up and speaks you gotta stay off the fats and you gotta do all this stuff. And then, you just bring up a very simple fact is, okay, if that was true, then all babies would die of heart attacks because their breast milk is all cholesterol and saturated fat, which is, so it kind of tells that's probably more of what we should be eating. And then later on, we add plant matter and whatnot, but we don't abandon the things that brought us into the world altogether.
That's what fathoms me. Like, at what age are we supposed to switch from, a high-fat cholesterol diet? Like, is it 5? Is it 6? Like, what age does she think that we should stop eating that?
Yeah, wean us off, because it's bad for us. But no, I really appreciate that story. So I kind of want to get started, and I like the way you put this, a well-formulated ketogenic diet. So how does someone get into a well-formulated ketogenic diet?
Well, I guess I would say I call it well-formulated because I personally did a very, not a well-formulated diet, ketogenic diet, because a lot of times we jump into it blindly and not realizing a lot of key electrolytes and even salt, the demonized salt, all of that really makes us almost despise going on a low carbohydrate diet. So what happens is carbohydrates retain water. And when you eliminate those carbohydrates, along goes a lot of water loss. And that's where people lose a lot of weight, or, it's usually a lot of water that goes the first few days. And along goes a lot of electrolytes. So when you walk upstairs, you probably have really heavy legs or really low energy. So maybe if you're trying to exercise on a low carb diet, you're like, oh, I don't have any energy. A lot of times when you're low in potassium, a lot of low moods happen. So some people get depressed when they go on a low carbohydrate. That's not because you're not producing serotonin, it's because you're not eating carbohydrates. That's just ridiculous. It is, however, important to make sure that I suggest supplementing with electrolytes like potassium if you're not on blood pressure medication, because you're usually taking that anyway, if you are, but also supplementing with salt. People don't realize how much salt they're getting in their diet when they're eating a standard American diet. A small milkshake at a fast food restaurant has more salt in it than their French fry does. But nobody knows that, because it's, even like bread, it doesn't taste salty, but there certainly is a lot of salt in it.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of one of the keys of saying, New Year's resolutions all aside, people want to make these drastic changes to their lifestyles. And they don't think the big picture of, okay, if I change, if I leave processed foods behind and I've been eating, I don't know, 5,000 milligrams of salt every day, and now I'm down to almost none, your body isn't necessarily going to react very well to that.
No, it's not. And that's when, it's a big part of life, but constipation happens when you don't get enough salt. So a lot of people are like, well, how am I going to go, number 2 with no carbohydrates? It's like, well, babies go number 2 all the time and they don't get any fiber. But, it's just finding that right balance of all the key nutrients you need. And you're going to feel like you're energized. I can just hear it in your voice. A ketogenic diet does well for many.
Yeah. And so basically when you kind of talk about the steps here, you kind of went through, and we'll get into that a little bit deeper, but it's what we're talking about when we're talking about ketosis is effectively transforming our body from a sugar burner to a fat burner. And we do that by limiting our carbohydrates and moderate on the protein, and then eating the healthy fats. And so the cool thing is I would say 80% of this book is the recipes to help us do that, which is, again, the pictures are beautiful. The recipes are awesome. So we already kind of talked about the salt a little bit. If someone goes in and says, okay, I tried it, but I'm having trouble. So we want to troubleshoot some of the things that happen as we get into this. So, I know one of the things is, and I deal with this because I cycle in and out of ketosis. I'm not always in ketosis. I'm probably going to change that for this next year, but I've cycled in and out a good bit. But I know those first few days are really tough. And I know a lot of people call it keto flu. I don't like that term at all. I prefer to call it carbohydrate withdrawal.
Yeah, I like that.
Because, you're basically a drug addict and you're withdrawing from something that your body, is used to having. So I use that term more. But as you kind of go through the troubleshooting of someone that's looking at that, what are some things that you would talk about as far as how they can manage this?
I would say that, first of all, it's very difficult to change habits. I grew up on cereal and, skim milk for breakfast. And we often had that for a bednight snack. Bednight snack thing, that was the hardest habit for me to break. So first of all, I don't like just removing things from people. I like to replace. So if you have a habit, for me, a bednight snack, I wasn't even hungry, but my mind told me you need to eat something now. And I would not even be hungry. So I had to replace that activity with something else. And that's where I like to do a lot of like bedtime yoga or things like that, have a nice cup of tea, but now I drink ice water. If you get into the book, why I'm more addicted to cold therapy and things like that. But, replacing those habits and really ripping off the Band-Aid. And, again, it's those habits that we really need to replace. Supplementing with magnesium and potassium would help with that. Withdrawal syndrome from carbohydrates that you're talking about. Making sure that you do get extra liquids in to help with that hydration. But again, you're just going to urinate a lot more unless you add in salt into your food. And some people even need to salt their water. Not so it's a salty drink, just enough so you don't taste it is going to do a lot for your benefit.
Yeah, I go through Pink's Himalayan salt. Like it's going out of style. I mean, on everything. I love it. So someone's going through this and they want to do this. Now you've got all these little tips for success or steps for success. And I love these, every single one of these. But I think we could probably spend about the better part of an hour kind of going through them. So I want to take and go through just a few of them, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Now your first one was kind of interesting and it started talking about the liver and the health of the liver. Could you kind of get into that? Because I think that's an often overlooked organ, but it's such an important part of our health journey. If we really want to be healthy, our health is measured not by our heart, but by our liver.
Yes, absolutely. And we're also so concerned about what we put in our mouths. We don't realize what we're putting on our skin gets absorbed by the bloodstream and basically can cause a tired and toxic liver, and your T4 is converted into the activated T3. These are your thyroid hormones. That happens in the liver, not in the thyroid. So if you have a low T3, I would look at what's going on in your liver. And some people are like, well, I don't drink any alcohol, but that doesn't matter. I see children with fatty livers, and that's not because they're drinking alcohol. That's because they're drinking Gatorade. They're drinking juice, they're drinking soda, but also I see, which might shock a lot of people, I see a lot of swimmers with fatty livers. And that's all because of the high chlorine. A lot of lifeguards deal with that. That chlorine is going right to that liver. And that's why part of this book is how to make some healthy topical products. I mean, I love that I don't have to go to these big box stores and spend all this money on, lotions and toothpaste and all this stuff because I make it at home. Not only does it save me money, but it's so much better for you,
And that's one of the cool things. Like I said, this is not just a cookbook because there's hot sauce and mayo and all kinds of home products. So I'm really excited to get into some of these. And I actually did try your lemon pepper wings. And I'm like, okay, that's good because with the Super Bowl coming up, we're going to want to have some healthy snacks to take over to our friends when we sit down to watch this. And I made a set last night and awesome. And I'll be making another set definitely for Super Bowl. Now, in this one, you talk about cutting out dairy. And I would say normally in a ketosis style diet, people would keep dairy in their food. But you have a specific reason for pulling it out this time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that people underestimate how widely spread dairy allergies are. I fight this tooth and nail with a lot of people, but once they cut it out, I get so many people stuck that come to me and I'm like, okay, we need to cut the butter. We need to cut the ghee. We need to cut every whey protein, all of that. And the reason why is because for a lot of people, dairy is, first of all, it could be a food allergy, but if it's not, it also can raise blood sugar for about 50% of the people that I work with. And that would hold them back from their goals and keep them in a state that, Maria, I just don't feel the benefits of ketosis like my husband does, or, whatever they're suffering from. And then when they do finally cut it out, I mean, I live in Wisconsin. This is the dairy state. So this is kind of blasphemy. I mean, you go to the gas station to get cheese curds, it's just so important that's why I did call it a cleanse, because I cut all dairy and I cut all nuts from this book, just because a big mistake I see too is they subtract fiber to count net carbohydrates, and you really need to count total. And if you're doing a lot of almond flour muffins or cakes and things that you're going to read on the web, that's going to hold you back too. So, it's not as easy as having a piece of cheese and a handful of nuts. see a lot of people doing.
Well, that's the easy. I mean, honestly, that's the easiest way to kind of get into this lifestyle is because you can sit there and say, okay, I can have the nuts when I get hungry. I can have the cheese. Those are going to be, I guess in my mind, I kind of feel like more comfort foods as you kind of go through it, because you don't really think of steak and cauliflower as a comfort food so much as, okay, that's my dinner and I'm cool with that. But you're going to want to put the butter and the cheese on that cauliflower. And for at least for this 30 days, we take a break from that and we let our gut heal, and that helps the mitochondria kind of do their thing and kind of helps us get to a healthy state. Now that we're in this healthier state, we have this opportunity to consider adding those back responsibly so that now our bodies can tell us, okay, this is going to be good for us or this is not good for us. But we have to actually reconnect the signals of our body and what food does for us.
Right. I think a lot of people are walking around in a state where they don't realize how awful they feel until they get rid of some of those like food allergies or, food sensitivities. And that's when after 30 days, you're feeling awesome. And if you add in, cheese or nuts, and nuts are really pretty hard to digest, and nuts and dairy are very constipating. So if you notice quite a difference in your whole overall body when you start adding in those things, I don't know, there's so many awesome foods, especially the recipes in there that, you really don't need them. And there's so many awesome fats now. If you go to like Fatworks or Epic Fats, there's beef tallow, leaf lard. There's so many fats that, we often just go to butter, but it's like, man, there's a lot of flavorful fats out there that taste really good in your cooking.
Absolutely. Now, you used another word in here that I thought was pretty interesting, and it was overfeeding days. And, most people get into ketosis because they want to lose weight. But you're introducing overfeeding days. Can you kind of explain that concept?
Yeah, and it depends on what your goals are. And again, ketosis is not just about weight loss. My children are 6 and 7, and they've eaten like this since they've been with us.
You're raising superheroes, by the way.
I am. So, they're super minds. But I'm not a short order cook. So when I was doing this dairy-free book, we all did that, and we ate this food, and obviously, I don't want them to lose weight. I actually wanted them to get onto the growth charts because they were so underweight. They were from Ethiopia. And my story kind of is why I got into the ketogenic lifestyle, because I suffered from PCOS. And I don't want people to suffer from that anymore. But they definitely are on the growth charts now, growing like weeds. But if ketosis is for weight loss, I still recommend an overfeeding day, maybe once a week. And that is because when you are restricting calories and things like that, it is nice to kind of trick your thyroid and do an overfeeding day. This isn't a high carbohydrate day. This isn't a carb loading day, anything like that. But it is where maybe you boost your calories to 3,000 calories for the day. I like to have, I'm addicted to my maca ice cream. It's kind of like a malted milk ice cream, which you can find on my blog. It's a free recipe. But I like to have a big bowl of ice cream on those days. But, most of the time people are it was so funny. I try not to read reviews on my cookbooks because I'm a very sensitive soul. And my husband told me about this one review that was, I don't know if they gave me 1 star or something like that, but he said, it's actually a good review because they said they don't like eating this way because they're always full. It's like, that's the point.
Yes. When you actually turn your stomach on and it actually does what it's supposed to do with your hormones, then that's kind of a cool thing.
I know. So I that one didn't bother me so much.
But that takes me to my next one is you use the F word in this book, fasting. And the funniest thing of this is when I'm on ketosis, intermittent fasting just actually is a natural state. And it's just so weird. I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry. And so why force food in my mouth when I'm not hungry? So I get up and I go do my thing. And like this morning, I got up and went out and did some sling blading. I'm clearing a property we just bought.
Fun.
And so, fun. Wait.
I like to be in the woods though, doing that type of stuff.
It is. It is. It's enjoyable to get out there and just, do my thing. And the place we bought is coming around. And so it's like now, we can actually get to places on the property we couldn't get to before, which is interesting. And I'm finding things that people, the people before us left on the property, which is also interesting, and thinking through how I'm actually going to get that stuff off. But, but it's one of the things. If I had plenty of energy to go do what I wanted to do, and I wasn't thinking about food. So let's get a little bit into intermittent fasting and why you think it's a good principle to practice. Again, like I said, for me, it just seems to happen naturally, but that might not happen for everybody.
Yeah, actually, it is. It's something that I remember being talked to about it about a decade ago. And in college, I'm taught that we should be eating every 2 to 3 hours to fuel our metabolism. And that's when we're talking about sugar burners. You almost need to eat every so often because you're hungry. And ketosis is a whole nother ball game. And it's almost a natural side effect of being satisfied, where your ketones will keep rising when you're in a fasted state. And that's why a lot of people find they like to write or, work in a fasted state. I mean, Gandhi and Einstein, they all talk about fasting and how the mental clarity comes in that state. And this isn't a new phenomenon, it's something that a lot of the great minds of our existence, they work their best in a fasted state. So I find that I write the best in the morning on an empty stomach, and it's not even a thought. I love my family, but my brother talks about, I need to eat right away in the morning, otherwise I feel nauseous. And I'm like, dude, that's Grandpa Jerry, man. That's diabetes. But he doesn't want to hear that. So
yeah, well, it's a blood sugar thing. It just is. And so if you're a sugar burner, you have to keep a stable blood sugar the whole time you go, and that's going to require you to eat on regular intervals. So and I've seen people be quite successful with whatever they want to do, be it a fitness task or a losing weight, of saying, I'm going to eat 6 of these smaller meals per day, and I'm just going to be a natural sugar burner. Now, the other side is they reach their fitness goal or they reach their weight goal, but the end game is, are you better off for it? And I think the science is more and more saying that that's probably not the best route. Our bodies were designed to work on 2 different fuel systems. And the more you push both of those fuel systems as a part of doing what you do on a daily basis, I think the healthier you're going to be. So you have one other thing in here that I have to get into, because it's one of my pet peeves, and it's the detox the bad estrogens.
Yeah, that's a pet peeve.
Well, it is. I don't know. I cringe at work when I see plasticware going into the microwave. I thought you meant what
I was referring
to.
No.
I'm like, when I see someone put plastic in the microwave.
I know.
And I'm like, oh no. But I don't want to be that guy. So I
know, but that's like a whole industry. They now do like steamer bags, and you put a plastic bag in your slow cooker, so you don't even have to clean that. It's like, come on, how lazy have we become? And it's just so bad for you.
So take us a step back and let's talk about why this is bad for you, because I really do want folks to hear this, because I think it's important for them to understand what is happening and why, this marvel of technology is not the right path.
There's a whole series of obesogens. And when I say obesogens, it's the things that cause estrogen dominance in women as well as men. When people see men with big beer bellies, it's not a beer belly per se. It's more of an estrogen belly, because alcohol decreases testosterone for up to 24 hours and increases estrogen by 300%. And so constantly doing that on a daily or a weekly basis is going to cause a man to become estrogen dominant. When you have estrogen dominance, you notice that you can usually fall asleep, but you wake up too early in the morning or have restless sleep. Sometimes anxiety is a common thing that goes along with that. Estrogenic cancers are breast, uterine, ovarian, even prostate cancer in men, and thyroid cancer. Those are all estrogen dominant cancers. And we're living in a world filled with estrogenic things. I mean, not only the toxins in the air, and I know people are probably like, whoa, she's a little crazy. And I remember thinking that myself when I heard it the first time, but looking at going into a lab and seeing these teenagers wear traditional, I won't say what type of makeup, but it's a common makeup that you can buy at the store, and watching them switch to removing all of that makeup. And there's makeup that's non-toxic, such as like beauty counter, things like that. But when they remove the makeup, their estrogen levels drop by over 50% in only 3 days. And these were teenage girls. So estrogen dominance isn't just happening to like a postmenopausal woman. That's what it's like traditionally thought of as. It's happening in teenagers, it's happening in men, and it's happening all over the place, just because we're just addicted to not only the carbohydrates that are going to cause a hormone imbalance, but we're addicted to all of these lotions and potions and makeups and, you know, all of that type of stuff that we really need to let go of and realize that these products have so many chemicals that are really new to our human existence. And we're never going to learn how to digest those or absorb those and eliminate them properly. So our best defense would be to not buy them anymore.
Well, it's interesting you say all that, because I remember this, I guess, as a public service announcement that the TV programs used to put, and it was the more you know, they'd come out and they say, and so when I look at the 30-day ketogenic cleanse, this is kind of that public service announcement, the more you know. And I really do see this as an opportunity for folks to educate themselves. And then again, 80% of this book is recipes and things you can make for use at home. There's a hot sauce. There's obviously the lemon chicken wings, which are going to probably be one of my staples going forward. And so again, it's just a wonderful book and provides so much value, the education on the front end, and then just all the stuff you can do with the recipes. And it is designed as a cleanse, but I do take this serious. I think when folks realize how good they feel, they'll realize this is a lifestyle they can live with.
Thank you. That's my goal.
So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, because you did refer to your blog, and I do want to get them there, or to get the book, where would you like for me to send them?
Well, yeah, I have a blog at mariamindbodyhealth.com where I have a lot of information on if you do have the carbohydrate withdrawals, what to do. I have like a keto calculator and finding out your macros there, but a lot of free recipes, over 1,000 free recipes are there. Otherwise, I am on Facebook and we answer all your questions. Either my husband or I do, usually within the hour. And that's at Keto Adapted. And then I'm also on Instagram at Maria Emmerich.
Awesome.
Talk about continuity, but
but no, I will make sure those links are in the show notes. And so you can find the show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/203 for 203. So again, Maria, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, I've been a fan of yours for a long, long time, and I'm just really happy to have this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you. This has been awesome.
So before you go, I want to ask you to do two things. One for someone else and one for yourself. This was a really good episode, and I hope that you'll share it with someone through your social media, through conversations, through email, however. But do share this with someone. I think that a lot of folks will get value from this the way that you have. So again, please do share this. And now I want you to do something for yourself. I want you to go check out Surefire Results for Weight Loss. It's a program where I basically compiled all of the things that I typically tell my clients to do as far as base nutrition, base fitness to lose weight. And it's a very simple program, very simple lifestyle changes. It's 28 days, and I guarantee it's going to work for you. Just go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/surefire and check it out today. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, I'm going to discuss the 3-monkey experiment and how sometimes the things we do aren't done for the reasons we think they're done. I do hope you'll join me for that episode. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.